So we're group 21 and we decided to look into US sentencing variants as our topic. And our names are Nicholas Yannick Krones, Sophia Ternick, and Anya Gomerin. Our project looks into federal circuit sentencing data to assess whether or not there is a uniform application of federal sentencing guidelines. The principle of equality under the law is fundamental to a free society and becomes compromised if specific regions sentence more harshly than others. Although we acknowledge that there may be some legitimate reasons for such variations, it is essential to investigate further if we discover such disparities. Moving on to our research question, we decided to ask, does there exist a U.S. Circuit Court whose sentences represent a significant disparity from others with regards to application of sentencing guidelines? We also conducted research on background and prior work and found that U.S. sentencing guidelines are used in federal courts in order to minimize unwarranted sentencing disparities in criminal cases. These guidelines are initially calculated by taking defendants' criminal history on a scale followed by the crime at hand, along with any other specific factors relating to the offense in question. However, judges are not bound by the guidelines and are able to impose sentences upwards from the maximum possible, provided that they explain their reasoning for doing so. We acknowledge that communicating our results carefully is essential due to the significant impact of criminal justice on individual lives. Moving on to our hypotheses, our research hypothesis is that there exists at least one federal circuit which imposes sentences upwards from the guidelines significantly more than other circuits. And our null hypothesis is that there does not exist at least one federal circuit which imposes sentences upward from the guidelines significantly more than other circuits. The data that we utilized was made publicly available through the U.S. Sentencing Commission. We can also assume that the data has not been manipulated in any way, as the Commission itself was established as a check to the Department of Justice and judges in particular. Therefore, bias was not a primary concern when collecting our data. However, there are some concerns in regards to handling and analysis of the data. We are examining federal sentencing across all crime types, racial groups, etc., and may miss important regional sentencing disparities that may arise when focusing on these external factors. The dataset that we used is called the United States Sequencing Commission Interactive Data Analyzer, which includes publicly available data from the U.S. Sentencing Commission, which includes data points on almost every federal sentence from 2015 and onwards. The variables that we focus on are circuit, year, and application of guidelines. Our data was downloaded by circuit from the U.S. Sentencing Commission Interactive Data Analyzer, which was read into Pandas data frames. As for data cleaning, the null values were dropped from the data frame, and it is also re-indexed. Years were added with a signifier for the circuit as well. We then visualized the data to see how many cases each circuit sentenced. We found that the 5th and 9th circuits seemed to have far more sentenced cases than other circuits. This lines up with the fact that these circuits encompass states located along the border of Mexico and handled the vast majority of immigration cases in the United States.
Here we create a graph comparing each circuit's average upward variance from 2015 to 2022 as a percentage of total sentenced cases. And here we can see our graph. As we can see, the First Circuit is the highest. Our results show that the First Circuit sentences upwards from the guidelines more than any other circuit, and that there is a statistically significant relationship between circuit and the percentage of cases sentenced upward from the guidelines. While the percentages may seem small, their impact cannot be overstated. Because our p-value is less than the threshold of 0.05, We reject our null hypothesis and accept the research hypothesis. While our investigation does not permit us to draw conclusions as to why there is a disparity between the First Circuit and other circuits, this would be a good area for future research.